security engineer certifications and also other certifications from Google Cloud. For my daily life, I give consultation to Google Cloud partners, and in the last 5 years, I have more than 4K audience in my training and in the event and conference that I participated. From my experience, I will take you on a journey to take your certification. We'll start by the main page that contains a list of all the certification provided by Google Cloud, such as the cloud engineer, the cloud architect, the security engineer, the network engineer, and so on. In our video today, we will concentrate on the cloud security engineer. So if you click on this link, you will go to the main page of the certification. And a professional cloud security engineer is someone who has a deep understanding of all the security services provided by Google Cloud and should enable organization to design and implement secure root and infrastructure on Google Cloud. The exam takes 2 hours, and you have to pay $200 to take the exam, but this price may be different from one country to another country. The exam is available in English and also in Japanese, and the exam questions are either multiple choices or multiple selected questions. And the number of the questions is between 50 and 60 questions. You can take the exam online, maybe at your home, at your work, and also they are on-site, protected exam, where you go to the testing center and take your exam. Now let's put our study plan. I will start here by going to the learning path provided by Google Cloud as a Google Cloud Skills Boost, where you will see more than course. We have to study well to prepare ourselves for the certification exam. I will start by Google Cloud Fundamental Core Infrastructure, which from its name a very fundamental course and is common for maybe all the certification provided by Google Cloud. So if you prepare yourself or take the certification of cloud engineer or cloud architect, you have studied it before, so you will need to make a revision. If this is your first time to see this course, you have to study it well. And after you complete this course, there are 2 courses prepare you for the cloud network engineer, the professional cloud network engineer, which are defining and implementing networks and hyperconnectivity. Prepare you for the cloud network engineer, the professional cloud network engineer, which are defining and implementing networks and hyperconnectivity and network management. In the same way, if you study these courses before, or you actually have the title of professional cloud network engineer, you will need to make a revision. Otherwise, you will need to study these 2 courses very well. After that, we have 3 courses, which are the core courses that prepare you for the certification exam, which are managing security in Google Cloud, security best practice, and mitigating security vulnerabilities. After that, we have another course called Logging, Monitoring, and Observability, which also common in more than certifications, such as professional cloud architect and so on. In the same way, if you studied this course before, you will need to make a revision. Otherwise, you have to study it well. I put these courses in this board, where each list for each course and each card in the list for a specific module in the course. For our first course, the core fundamental, the core infrastructure, we have 8 modules. For the second course, we have 4, and for the third 4, and so on. Again, this is the very fundamental course for nearly all certification. These 2 courses prepare you for the network certification, and this is the 3 courses, the core courses that prepare you for the security certification. And also, you can see here we have the logging and monitoring and observability in Google Cloud. You can look here. I put labels. First label is called lab, and the second label first view. My first strategy to have the certification is to go to the module, study it well, do the labs, and first view the module. What is the labs? The labs is very important to you to take the certification exam, because some questions are based on your practice experience, so you have to do these labs very well. And first view all the courses and all the modules of these courses, okay, before you fully understand. Why? Because from my experience, maybe there is some topic or maybe something you can't understand, but this topic is covered in another topic in another course. So you can start by first review and doing the labs and finishing all the modules, and after doing this for all the courses, you can go to the next phase, which is full understand. Full understand, okay? If you look to to complete the bus, and it will be great. You need to study all these courses, so this represents a shortcut. Your certifications. The first link here is the main page of the certification, divided to 4 courses we have seen before, but also cover all the topics and points for every task. And for every task, if we go to first task here, it will the quest, we will get a badge regarding this quest. Here we have a very important lab, which is a challenge lab. That in here we can register is the correct answer for every question in 2 hours. Sample quiz important to be sure from your practical experience. The first one we said before, seen before, it's regarding network in general, and this is regarding challenge lab. Also, there is important link here, which is the sample questions. The sample questions is about 20 questions. That seems like the questions that you can see in the exam. My advice here is to put yourself in an environment like what will happen during the exam. So put yourself in a room where nobody can interrupt you and try to solve these questions in about 45 minutes. Why? Because the real exam is about 50 questions in 2 hours. So because these sample questions are about 20 questions, so we can solve it in 45 minutes. And after every question, to take an exam. Click on remote one, the camera in your laptop. During the exam, you must how to your profile contain your name as it appear in your ID, in your government ID, where you have your name and your photo at your ID. And also, if you go to the register for an exam, this is all the certification from Google Cloud. We can look for security. We can take the exam either remote or on-site. Remote where you can take the exam at home or at office. And also on-site where you go to specific centers chosen by Google Cloud to take the exam on site. If you click buy now on site, you will be go to choose one. You have here to choose a day and choose a time slot. It's very important here to read every word in every page during your registration for the exam. This is very important because maybe you do something that's not allowed and you don't know this is not allowed because you do not read every word here. So it's very important to read every word in this because it's very important here to read every word. Word in every page during your registration for the exam. This is very important because maybe you do something that's not allowed and you don't know this is not allowed because you do not read every word here. So it's very important to read every word in this website during your registration, and if it's totally fine, you acknowledge and click select. It's also important regarding if you will take the exam on home remotely. My advice is not to use if you will take the exam at your office, do not use the network provided by your office because maybe it has some restrictions that prevents the exam from being ready for you to take remotely. Here you will know that we can take the exam on Windows machine or Mac machine, and these are the specs needed for your machine to take the exam. It's very important to be sure your network can do this. Have these specs such as the upload and download speed, also the ping time and jitter and so on. And we have to download the secure browser, which is a software that will be downloaded and installed in your machine. So during the exam, you will be only allowed to see the exam itself and can't open any other software in your machine. And if this is your first time to take any exam at Google Cloud, you have to create your biometric profile. And this is something like take your photo to be sure after that this is you and you only the one who always takes the exam. Please be sure in your profile you write your name as it appears in your governmental ID because they will check you. And thank you very much and learning path of Google Cloud certification, professional certification. So let's start. In this module, we'll speak about 4 important security services provided by Google Cloud, such as Cloud Identity, Cloud Directory Sync, Managed Microsoft Active Directory, and Identity Platform. We can start by Cloud Identity, which can be seen as identity provider, identity as a service, where we can use it to create, manage, delete identities, and to authenticate, authorize, and manage all our users, and also manage mobile devices and all endpoints in general. If we go here, this is the Cloud Identity. First of all, if we look to the domain, it's at the domain admin.google.com, which is the admin console. This is not part of the Google Cloud console, which we can see here. This is the domain of the Cloud console, which is cloud.google.com. So here we have 2 editions of Cloud Identity, the free edition, which we use now, and also the enterprise edition, which give to us more management regarding mobile devices and so on. Cloud Identity can be used with Google Workspace services and also can be used without providing Google Workspace services to our users. From Cloud Identity, we can manage all the users, all the employees of our organization. We can add a new user, upload bulk of user, and manage all related things to our user, including deleting them if we want. Also, we can put our users in group and manage our groups and give a privilege to a specific group. And in this case, when we give a privilege to a specific group, we give a privilege to all the users in this group. Also, Cloud Identity allow us to manage all related things to our user, including security. So here we can see we can force our user to use 2-step verification if we want, and also we can allow our user to authenticate to other application or other services outside Google just by configuring this application by the single sign-on URL and the entity ID and so on. Also, if we want, we can use a third-party identity provider to authenticate our user.
So the recording has started now. I'll just present my screen. If any one of you can confirm if it is visible. First of all, I would like to congratulate each and every one of you to make it to the second stage of the program, and I would like to welcome you towards this professional cloud security engineer certification. The cohort start date is today's date, which is April 4th, 2024. I would request all of you with a few pointers, such as since the strength of this call is high, I would request you all to put your answer those or online community with your personal. The presentation that I'll be presenting will be also uploaded later to your Google Drive folder. You can directly write to me rather than writing it on the and about additional resources. These are some of the trends that we see in the market today, which has drastically changed after people have observed the importance of certification. We can see there has been a rapid increase in certified IT professionals. The skill gap issues which used to persist before has overcome now. People have invested their interest in training more. Passing the exam, you have a proof for not only having the experience, but also having the technical knowledge to operate at the required level within your job role. During this program, we are also going to prepare you for professional cloud security engineer exam readiness. Google Cloud certifications also give individuals confidence, credibility, and opportunities for career advancements and personal developments. People feel they are more positive. Just to let you know that this whole presentation is going to be a one-clicker. What do I mean by one-clicker is, if you click on here, it will redirect you to the page on the Google Cloud website where you can read more about professional cloud security engineer, where you can read about the certification exam, about exam overview, and so on. Also, to reiterate, this whole presentation is later going to be uploaded in your Google Drive folder, so you can definitely access it from there. Okay, so let's get to know about Google Cloud certification journey overview. So this is going to be a guided 10-week job program which will prepare technical practitioners for in-demand or ILT Google Cloud certifications. These certifications will also validate technical expertise and take careers to the next level. So now we are starting with the most important part of our presentation, which is about the learning plan. So our learning plan is going to be in 4 pages as we are going forward with it. In the first 2 pages, you're going to see about the dates overview, when the sessions are scheduled at. If you can see, okay, so this is just a continuation. Any of these, it will redirect you to the page 1, Google Cloud Skills Boost. Now to the most important thing, which you all must be very, very excited about, is about the exam voucher. So you can apply for an exam voucher. So the value of Google Cloud skill badges. About program elements. So this is going to be a 10-week guided learning program, which is starting from today, 4th of April at 9:30 a.m. IST. You'll also be provided with technical mentorship by a dedicated trainer, Marcia, in a format of 6 exam guide review sessions, which will be online live sessions with a technical trainer. These sessions will be predefined content and properly structured. These 6 exam guide review sessions are going to be recorded. Starting from the line learning environment, along with a set of instructions to walk you through a live, real-world and scenario-based use case. In a lab, you'll have access to actual environment you want to learn about, not a simulation or demo environment. You will have access, or you are eligible to receive an access of 10 weeks on Google Cloud Skills Boost. All you need to do is you need to read the email carefully that was sent by that community with your personal email addresses. You'll also receive.
They might be okay, right? Any question about badges which someone has? Watch the videos that you're gonna be uploading.
Hey, it's absolutely session. I'm good.
To be a demo, just because all of you have gone through some of those labs, so you should already be used to those. And then we might just touch.
Welcome to the certification preparation, professional security engineer and professional network engineer certification. My name is Magda, and certification benefits. Then we'll review the over 90% of IT leaders expect to expand cloud services. Person enables organizations to design and implement and secure all of these resources on our external training websites. Specifically, reviewing the professional cloud network engineer role, let's really have a better understanding what this role is really about. A professional cloud network engineer implements and manages network architectures in Google Cloud. This individual may work on networking or cloud teams with architects who design cloud infrastructure. The cloud network engineer uses the Google Cloud console and/or command line interface and leverages experience with network services, application and container networking, hybrid and multi-cloud connectivity, implementing VPCs, and security for established network architectures to ensure successful cloud implementations. And you can review our exam page for further details. On the exam page.
Yes, thanks. I'm a customer engineer with Google Cloud. And in this role, I'm able to work with customers to understand their business requirements, some of the things they may want to do to maybe transform their industry. And I work with them. Yes, and there are a lot of synergies. And actually, when you think about what the cloud is, we are thinking about the network, the resources that are networked. And so network security is very important. And you will find that there are networking and security topics on both exams. So one really important perspective we have at Google is to think about a zero trust model. We've published a white paper called Beyond Corp. And this is just a different way of thinking about managing security and network security for those who are used to the world where you have a demilitarized zone and you're allowing communications across the board as soon as someone has permission against that perimeter. Well, with zero trust, this means that even though you may be in the same network, you do not have access. So this is, again, nothing, no access unless you are granted that by a policy explicitly or something where you are inheriting it. So being able to apply these types of principles across multiple products in the security and networking space will be really important. Also, it's important to think about how we approach open source software security. So we have a lot of different mechanisms to plan how we are managing development and what happens from a development standpoint, but also when you're doing additional builds. There are many other types of approaches. And so this is to understand doing joint ventures.
Here's your spot. So we are very excited to introduce the Google Cloud Skills Boost, our new destination for Google Cloud learning with over 700 labs, courses, and certification.
upon, well, probably two of some of software experience you will have. Right? Now, what do we mean by that? Let's have a look at the example of a question that you might see on the exam, right? And this will look mostly the same way in all cases, meaning, as Samia mentioned, that exam is a professional level one, right? Which means, from Google perspective, that you will not get questions about technical aspects directly, but there will always be some kind of a business context, right? The question will always say, hey, you are working with a customer, someone approached you, your technical team is struggling with this and that, they are planning to execute something, but they have failed, or your customer is planning to migrate. You need to first understand that context, unpack it, right? Meaning translate to technical terms and then answer, right? How do you answer? Well, mostly by choosing one out of four answers, just like you see on the slide, right? There will be answers, or there will be questions where you might see more answers, like 5 or 6 answers, and the question will clearly say, choose 2 answers, right? It will be a clear message. In most of the questions, you need to choose a single one out of 4. That's the common pattern, okay? Those answers are not, well, it's not about choosing an answer that is technically correct only. That's a tricky thing that you need to remember about, right? Just like in real life, in the cloud, you can reach the same destination using different ways, different paths, using different techniques, services, and settings, right? Some paths are easier, some are not, some are more secure, some are recommended, some are working technically, but are not best practices or Google recommended practices, right? So the additional challenge on the exam is to choose an answer that is optimal, that doesn't only work technically, because you might see 2 or 3 or even 4 answers that would do the trick technically, but you have to choose an answer that is following all those recommendation standards. Or maybe the question says, hey, they want to do it as quickly as possible. They need to cost optimize. They need to focus on security. They need to follow Google recommended practices, right? That's how those questions look like. Now, you will not be asked about any input. Like, there will be no labs, there will be no hands-on exercises. You will not be asked to paste any G-Cloud commands, to write any G-Cloud commands. There will be no case studies, right? If you know PCA, the architect exam, there are those case studies. No case studies here, right? So only those multiple choice questions that you should expect. But let me just ensure you that the labs that you will be going through along the journey are critical for you to understand how those services work, right? What they do, and this is where it's a part of the learning process, but you will not see any labs on the exam, right? Okay, what else? The tricky part is that it's not even clear what is the percentage needed to pass the exam, right? So Google doesn't say it. Me as a Googler, I don't know it as well, right? And I tend to recommend to be on quite high, like 85% level, when it comes to solving different mock exams, different quizzes that I will give you, right? Also, at the end, you can do that sample question quiz again, right? To see if you are now prepared, if you know the real answer to all of the questions, if you understand what they're asking about, because now you don't have to, really, right? You're just starting to learn. So this is where I try to, advise to be on that level in order to make sure that even if the questions on the exam are even more challenging, you are still good to go. So probably the rate is about 70%, but that's a guess, right? Don't quote me on that. This is my guess down the browser, right? A software needs to be installed on that laptop. It will like take over the control of your device, so your corporate devices may not accept it, right? But this is just to say Practicing Center is more of a safer choice, I would say, right? Now, what happens after you pass the exam? Well, then you get a certificate, obviously, right? A digital. certificate that is valid for 2 years, meaning that it will just say that you 2 years in keep it. Fail, you will get some kind of a report saying that exam. I would say that you have already made a ton of work and you just need to go deeper into some security. Okay, Diego says well is a huge bonus. It will make it much easier for you to prepare. Why don't we see professional security cloud engineer learning path in Google Skills Boost? I think those paths are, well, you will get a learning plan. Don't worry about browsing through Skills Boost. You will get all the links that you will need to the learning plan, to all the online courses there. Okay, so I understand that's about it. So let us move forward, and I would suggest to do something interesting. Let's try to solve this one, right? Let's assume that we don't know too much about GCP yet, right? Because most of you may be, that may be the case for you. And I want to teach you one technique that I use a lot when I solve the questions, because I am still surprised by some questions, to be honest, when I pass one of those GCP exams. I don't know everything. That's a thing that I just accept, and that's a natural thing. For me to pass the exam without knowing all the answers, I would say. I tend to eliminate the answers that do not feel right, that something is wrong with those. And in most questions that you will see, it will be relatively easy to eliminate at least 2 out of 4 answers. And then you are already like at 50-50 chances. That's already huge. Let's try to choose 2 answers here that do not really feel like right, even without going deep into those services. What do you think? Which ones like smell fishy? Okay, Diego says C and D. D is not correct. Okay, C, exactly. Oh, and another comment. I saw that if you pass the exam, you get swags. Yes, this as of now, I'm not sure if Google will not change it. After passing the exam, you get a voucher. You can exchange that voucher for a swag, like a hoodie or like a backpack or different things. Okay, going back to the question. C and D can be ruled out, just like most of you mentioned, right? Now, why that is? Just because both suggest that you will have developers generate and download their own keys, right? Those keys, those service account keys, are kind of encrypted passwords, and basically it's definitely not a best practice to allow developers to generate them by their own. And even the question says you need to provide the team with the keys for these service accounts. It doesn't say you need to grant the team the ability to generate their own keys, right? So it's like too much of a freedom that you would give out for the developers, right? So by following that kind of reasoning, you will eliminate those 2 answers. Now let's try to choose between A and B. What do you think? Okay, I see B and A, B. Okay, mostly B's. And by eliminating, you could also eliminate the first answer quite easily. Now, why is that? Let's assume that I do not know about GCP too much, but if I see that something, some kind of a secret, right, because it says about some keys, some kind of a secret is committed to the source code repo, then I'm starting to question it, right? That's definitely not a best security practice, and it doesn't even matter if we're talking about public cloud, GCP, or anything else. You just don't commit secrets to a source code repo, regardless if it's public or private, right? That's why I would also eliminate A. And following that kind of an approach, you will, if you learn that, right, you will be able to much easier answer some of those tricky questions where you see them and there's a lot of text, like the question might have like 10 sentences or 10 lines, and each of the answers is long, and you feel, how do I even approach it, right? Try to eliminate. If you do that, you will be much better off. Okay. Following or moving forward, I don't want to go too deep into the exam guide. You must have seen it already. That will be a very useful resource for you. And basically, one of the skills that is really critical for passing the exam is to evaluate if you know enough, right? Because if you ask yourself, if you know everything, if you are prepared in 100%, if you know every GCP security service and every detail about that service, the answer will be no, right? Regardless, if you will learn it for a month or for 5 years. So in order not to postpone it forever, not to say, okay, I need to spend another 2 months on learning because I don't know this and that, you will have to like spot the time when it is optimal, right? Where you know enough. And this is why I will be sharing some quizzes and there will be a mock exam at the end that I will also share. And you need to use different resources like this exam guide to evaluate yourselves, to see if you know enough, right? So before you sign up for the exam, if you are validating, okay, am I ready? Should I learn for 2 more weeks or should I just sign up, right? Go through that exam guide and see if you are familiar with those concepts. It is not perfect because it doesn't tell you how deep you need to go into each of those. But anyways, if you go line by line and you see, okay, workload identity federation, do I know what that is? How to configure it, right? What does it even mean to impersonate a service account? How do I do it? Why would I do it? Why might it be a vulnerability in some cases, right? How should I configure and enforce 2-step verification, right? Where do I do it? In what tools? How to set it up? What are my options? And so on and so forth, okay? So this is one of the resources that you should use to validate yourselves, right? Another question about the notes. Do I get any notes to prepare for the exam? So let's park it again. And just a quick note, don't be surprised if we talk about the company called Symbol Bank. This is just a fictional company that Google made up for those cohorts, for those journeys of ours. This is a company which is undergoing a digital transformation, and the story goes like, we are security engineers, right? And we will try to help them to prepare, to migrate, follow best practices from security perspective, and so on. So just a thing that might pop up during those sessions of ours, but this is nothing covered on the exam, right? You should not expect anything about Symbol Direct. You don't have to prepare in any specific way for Symbol Direct for the exam, right? It's just for our learning. So what are the resources to support your certification journey apart from the learning plan that will be shared with you? First of all, if I were you, I would like to see what others think about the exam, right? Just because Maciej says something, probably it is not it is quite a subjective opinion, right? So maybe let's have a look at what others say. So there is a great GitHub link, which just contains different links to articles, to blog posts written by people who passed BCSE. And by the way, there are links for others as well. And there you can see how people prepared, what they think about the exam, what helped them more, what less, etc. Right? So you can see that. And again, you will get the slides and all the links there. Every week, we will go through a short quiz together just to learn how to address those questions, to validate our knowledge. You will also get those links to solve it on your own afterwards. And now I have three for you. First one addresses the questions about the notes. So the questions go something like, do I get any prep for the exam? Well, yes, you get the notes if you make them. That's my first suggestion. Make notes, meaning you will be going through online courses, right? You will need to learn all that stuff. What my technique is just use my favorite tool to copy and paste some more important things, to do some screenshots, right? To create a kind of a brain dump, because first of all, I learn better by doing that. And second of all, because at the end, I do not have to go back to those online learnings again, right? I often see the question like, okay, I have done those online trainings, but the first ones were like too back, should I see it again? How would you approach it? Well, you definitely shouldn't. You should have some kind of a brain dump with which you can just scroll through really quickly. You can make it on your own. You can collaborate. You are a huge group. There is nothing wrong with doing it together. You can just Google for it, and you will see some brain dumps popping up, and they will be and you can download. One in a couple of seconds, right? But please try to arrange one, I would say, right? Arrange one. Two, I would like you to be curious along the journey. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that along the way, you will be going through different labs, right? So let's say that you are going through a lab about cloud armor, for example, right? And the lab will say, hey, you need to create a cloud armor policy. So please click create policy, give it a name. Let's name it policy one. And then I don't know, add one or click next, right? Basically, that's the pattern in some of those labs. They say, accept the details, give it a name, and click next, click deploy, click create, right? Now, this is where I'm saying, please do not rush. Please use your time. The labs have quite a lot of spare time there. And please use that time to explore, right? To be curious, to see what other options do you have. What happens if you change from one option to the other, right? What other choices would you make and why? Why would you create a default allow action? Why would you create a default deny action? Something called GCP pretrial, right? That's right. And then this is where Google gives you okay, I think this, yeah. You can get validate to change, etc. So expired, creating a new account will probably do a trick, right? Will be considered a new customer. And also, if it expires, if the funds were, then, well, you can through our time. Have a look at that, GCP free trial. This is where Google gives you, okay, I think this, yeah. You can get a 90-day, 300 USD credits for GCP, right? It requires you to be a new GCP customer, right? So maybe you shall create another Gmail account for that. I don't know, right? Maybe that would be a workaround for that if you already used some features of the platform. But it might be very beneficial for you to use that offer because those labs that you will be going through are time bounded, right? The labs will last 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, they end. And now it is not possible for you to go back. It is not possible for you to explore, to have some kind of a sandbox environment, to create some resources, and then a day after you go back, you validate, you change, etc. So having that long-term project of yours is a very beneficial thing for you from my perspective. So just explore it. Be aware that you have to provide some distinct on the like 3, 4, even up to 7, I guess, labs which are not labs. I think you because there needs to be something you trust. But in public cloud and in Google's implementation, zero trust means something like you don't trust the network layer, from my perspective at least, right? Google does not like the idea that just by being in some kind of a corporate network, or by using a client VPN software to create a link, right, to create an encrypted tuner and like pretending to be in a corporate network, you would get some special privileges. You would see some resources, you would see some systems, you would get some access. It is something that Google doesn't like at all. All those client VPNs should be thrown out of the window from Google perspective. And Google is saying everyone who tries to use our services, corporate or not, they should prove that they are who they are. They should authenticate, right? They should be authorized, hence they should have given permissions explicitly, right, before they are trying to use the system. They should be using a known device, right? So if they're logging from a mobile or from a laptop, that device should be registered. It should be managed by the company. It should have some security profiles installed on that, and so on and so forth, right? So there is a whole framework. It is called Beyond Corp to just say, your workforce, your employees can be working from the office, but they can also be working from the home office or from an internet cafe or from an airport or from anywhere else, and they should be treated in a similar way, right? The trust should be based on a number of different characteristics, not just because they are logged into some kind of a corporate net. That's one thing. And Google moved it even more, like it went even more forward with that approach by saying in 2019 that there is something, or that they implemented Beyond Corp approach. What is it about Beyond Corp? Just like Beyond Corp was about users, which needed to prove all those things that I mentioned. Now it's about workloads, right? So Beyond Corp was about users. Beyond Corp is about workloads. So your VMs, your containers, especially all those microservices, which nowadays, just like a user can work from different locations, your pod, your microservice can work from GCP, but you can also deploy it on a GKE cluster on AWS. You can also deploy it on a GKE cluster in on-premises. It will be the same one. It should be accessible. It should prove that it is what it is. It cannot be identified by the network because the network concepts are different across those platforms. Its IP will change, right? Because if you want to upgrade the version of that microservice or the application that is being served, probably the old pod will be killed and a new one with a new IP will be created, right? So you cannot trust it based on IP. When two microservices talk to each other, it's the same. They shouldn't trust themselves explicitly. They should use encrypted traffic, right? There should be some layer, maybe some kind of a service mesh. Let us go to the console again. And why don't you please tell me, where should I go to manage my users, my identities, my employees? Like, that's the question, right? Right? I can either cloud identity or Google Workspace, right? You will learn about
Now, why become a certified professional cloud security engineer? Well, certification value has skyrocketed. Becoming Google Cloud certified gives you industry recognition, it validates your technical expertise, Now, why become a certified
Are you ready to start preparing for the Professional Security Engineer Certification exam? Well, in this course, you'll assess your exam readiness and form a personalized workbook that will guide you through your certification journey. Hi, I'm Sean, a technical curriculum developer at Google Cloud, and I'll introduce you to the Professional Security Engineer Certification and how to prepare for it. Now, this content is designed for experienced security engineers that are ready to become Google Cloud certified. Before taking this course, you should have experience designing and managing security solutions in Google Cloud. In this course, you'll be exposed to and engage with exam topics through a series of lectures and quizzes. Upon completion of this course, you'll understand the domains covered on the exam, and you'll be able to identify gaps in your knowledge and skills for each domain. Enroll in this course to prepare to become a certified Google Cloud security engineer.
Welcome to preparing for your professional cloud security engineer journey. In this course, you'll learn more about the skills covered on the Professional Cloud Security Engineer Certification exam. Each module points to one section of the exam guide.
In this module, Module 0, we'll learn more about the role of a professional cloud security engineer and this course structure. In Module 1, we'll be covering Exam Section 1, which is on configuring access. Module 2 will cover securing communications and establishing boundary protection. Module 3 will cover data protection. Module 4 will cover operations management. Module 5 will cover compliance. And Module 6 will discuss next steps.
It's important to clarify that this course by itself will not prepare you to take the certification exam. This is not a cram session. The exam is purposefully calibrated to test your ability to apply the knowledge required of a professional cloud security engineer, not merely repeat it. Cram sessions have minimal impact on your ability to pass the exam. Instead, the goal of this course is to help you better structure your preparation time for the exam. You'll learn about the scope of each exam section, assess your current knowledge and skills through diagnostic questions, and review where to find additional tools and resources to include in your study plan. In this introductory module, you'll learn about the role of a professional cloud security engineer, the types of resources available to support your study, and how you will use the workbook in this course to create your study plan. So, you're preparing for the Professional Cloud Security Engineer certification. But what exactly is the role of a professional cloud security engineer? Let's review the job role description. A professional cloud security engineer enables organizations to design and implement secure workloads and infrastructure on Google Cloud. Through an understanding of security best practices and industry security requirements, this individual designs, develops, and manages a secure solution by leveraging Google Cloud security technologies. The professional cloud security engineer should be proficient in all aspects of cloud security, including identity and access management, defining organizational structure and policies, using Google Cloud technologies to provide data protection, configuring network security defenses, monitoring environments for threat detection and incident response, security policy as code, the secure software development lifecycle, and enforcing regulatory controls. A professional cloud security engineer should have 3+ years of industry experience, including more than 1 year designing and managing solutions using Google Cloud. For more information, visit the Professional Cloud Security Engineer certification page. In this course, you'll examine the role of a professional cloud security engineer by putting yourself in the shoes of a professional cloud security engineer working for Simple Bank, a fictional company that is digitally transforming and in the process of designing and developing a secure Google Cloud system. As part of its digital transformation, Simple Bank needs to determine how to set up and secure operations within a hybrid cloud environment. As a professional cloud security engineer at Simple Bank, your role involves working with cloud architects and network engineers to design Simple Bank's cloud environment and using recommended security practices that are in compliance with industry regulations. You'll be involved in configuring identity and access management, IAM, and helping define Simple Bank's organizational structure and policies. You'll also ensure that Simple Bank makes use of Google Cloud technologies for data protection, network security and defenses, logging, and managing incident responses. As you continue through this course, you'll explore the role of a professional cloud security engineer as Simple Bank defines different aspects of security for its cloud environment. We'll use this scenario to illustrate the types of considerations and tasks that correspond to each section of the exam guide. Simple Bank's network will also provide context for many of the diagnostic questions you'll encounter along the way.
Now, why become a certified professional cloud security engineer? Well, certification value has skyrocketed. Becoming Google Cloud certified gives you industry recognition, case studies, and a guide. In the following modules, you'll take diagnostic questions to assess your knowledge of each section of the exam guide. The exam guide is divided into 5 sections. Each section has several objectives. We'll focus on where you can find the resources at the section objective level. You can find the exam guide on the Google Cloud certification page. Throughout this course, you'll be pointed to specific resources and documentation that can help. The learning path for this certification includes in-person or online courses, online practice labs, skill badges, and as you complete the modules in this course, and mitigating security vulnerabilities in Google Cloud for equivalent content to the 3-day instructor-led course. The skill badges provide hands-on experience working in Google Cloud. Skill badges are learning paths made up of labs that give you hands-on practice with Google Cloud services or solutions. Pass a challenge lab at the end of the skill badge, and you will receive a shareable credential that recognizes your ability to solve real-world problems with your cloud knowledge. As we review the diagnostic questions in this, the correct answer before looking at options. You may be able to come up with the correct answer at google.com/docs. resources to help you study that section in preparation for the exam. One of the primary goals for this course is to help you devise a study strategy. To help you craft a study strategy, you'll take diagnostic questions as part of each module. These will help you identify areas you need to study and resources to support you. Now, many of these questions relate to our symbol bank scenario and ask you to apply concepts you will need to be familiar with as a professional cloud security engineer. Now, keep in mind that these diagnostic questions are meant to help you identify gaps in your knowledge, but they don't represent all possible topics on the exam. We'll review the answers to the questions related to each section objective. As we cover each objective, you'll learn more about where the key concepts appear in Google Cloud documentation, specific courses and modules. Let's get started by exploring section 1 of the exam guide. Welcome to Module 1, Configuring Access. In this module, you'll learn about defining a high-level plan for an organization's cloud identity and access management, which corresponds to the first section of the Professional Cloud Security Engineer exam guide. We'll start by discussing some different aspects of Symbol Bank's identity and access management structure. Next, you'll assess your skills in this section through 10 diagnostic questions. Then, we'll review these questions. Based on the areas you need to learn more about, you'll identify resources to include in your study plan. Let's begin by exploring how a professional cloud security engineer would plan Symbol Bank's cloud identity and access management. Symbol Bank is extending its on-premise office and data center infrastructure to connect into Google Cloud to support a hybrid cloud model. As a professional cloud security engineer, you play an integral role in securing the cloud environment and the data stored therein. In the cloud, Symbol Bank will leverage the shared responsibility model to secure its virtual infrastructure, workloads, and data on top of the hardware and physical infrastructure security provided by Google. You will help design their systems, incorporating security features provided by Google Cloud, along with the recommended approaches and best practices to ensure layered defense in depth. You will begin by helping them synchronize and federate their current identity management system to cloud identity. This will let employees use the existing Symbol Bank authentication system to be granted access to Symbol Bank's Google Cloud resources via their user or group identities. You will also help Symbol Bank define service account identities for their workloads running both on-premise and in the cloud to provide access to protected resources and data in Google Cloud. Those resources and data will be arranged in an organization hierarchy that aligns with their access control requirements and helps them achieve least privilege access control and separation of duties. You will also help Symbol Bank manage authentication, manage and implement authorization controls, and help define their resource hierarchy. Symbol Bank will synchronize their on-premises Active Directory users and groups to cloud identity using the Google Cloud Directory Sync tool. This synchronization will be handled by a cron job, which will run on a daily schedule right after updates are made to the Active. Aligns with their access control requirements. This will let employees use the existing along with the recommended approaches and best practices to ensure layered defense in depth. You will begin by helping them synchronize and federate their current identity management system to cloud identity. This will let employees use the existing Symbol Bank authentication system to be granted access to Symbol Bank's Google Cloud resources via their user or group identities. You will also help Symbol Bank define service account identities for their workloads running both on-premise and in the cloud to provide access to protected resources and data in Google Cloud. Those resources and data will be arranged in an organization hierarchy that aligns with their access control requirements and helps them achieve least privilege access control and separation of duties. You will also help Symbol Bank manage authentication, manage and implement authorization controls, and help define their resource hierarchy. Symbol Bank will synchronize their on-premises Active Directory users and groups to cloud identity using the Google Cloud Directory Sync tool. This synchronization will be handled by a cron job, which will run on a daily schedule right after updates are made to the Active Directory system. This will ensure any changes to organization users, groups, and group memberships are synchronized from the Active Directory system into Google Cloud. Symbol Bank will then be able to continue to use their existing Active Directory authentication system, for which they have a long-term contract. This system is configured for multi-factor authentication. Symbol Bank will synchronize their on-premises Active Directory users and groups to Cloud Identity using the Google Cloud Directory Sync tool and configure Cloud Identity to use the corporate Active Directory as a SAML2 identity provider and Google Cloud as a service provider. This will allow Google Cloud roles to be bound to their existing Active Directory user and group identities, and they can continue to manage the users, groups, and group membership, as well as authentication for users and groups in Active Directory. Symbol Bank will create separate service accounts for all their Google Cloud workloads running in Compute Engine VMs and GK containers, as well as for any on-premises workloads that require access to Google Cloud resources. Symbol Bank will primarily leverage Google Key Management for these service accounts to reduce risk of key exposure by using features such as GKE Workload Identity and Workload Identity Federation. They will prevent users creating service account keys with rare exceptions, use automated rotation of such keys when they do, and carefully audit that usage. They will also carefully control who has access to which service accounts and audit how they are used to ensure security best practices. Symbol Bank will create their organization in Google Cloud with a folder hierarchy aligning with their departments, teams, products, and shared services. It will utilize separate projects for development, QA, and production environments. Projects may or may not have standalone VPCs for workloads that require isolation, and there will be a set of development, QA, and production shared VPC host projects for cross-project communication. Symbol Bank will utilize organizational policy constraints in multiple policies bound at different levels of the hierarchy to restrict activity across projects to approved and expected services and processes. They will set constraints on which services can be enabled in parts of the hierarchy, as well as which regions or zones can be used. They will also set constraints around which identities from which domains can be granted access and how service accounts can be used. Symbol Bank will primarily assign access by binding predefined roles to groups aligning with principles of least privilege and separation of duties. It will always bind roles as low in the hierarchy as possible when the access is not required across multiple resources or projects. It will also partition access to minimize the damage any single actor can do. Providing access primarily via groups rather than individuals minimizes maintenance as individuals join or leave teams or the organization and reduces effort and complexity for auditing activity. Symbol Bank will utilize IAM conditions when binding roles to identities to restrict from which locations, agent types, and timeframes access can be used. This will provide further flexibility and granularity in least privilege access control. Now, it's your turn to assess your experience and skills related to this section with some diagnostic questions. Remember, the purpose of these questions is to help you better understand what is involved in this section of the exam guide and identify which areas you'll want to focus on in your study plan.
very important to the process of understanding Google Cloud and passing the certification exam that you go through the question and attempt answering it yourself first. So pause the video, work through the question. We'll catch up in just a little while and I'll show you how I do it. In this project requirement, developers in an organization are prototyping a few applications on Google Cloud Platform and are starting to store sensitive information on Google Cloud. The developers are using their personal consumer Gmail accounts to set up and manage their projects within Google Cloud. A security engineer identifies this practice as a concern. This could be a problem. It could become a management nightmare or an administrative nightmare. So the solution that we is multi-factor authentication. So that we want all the developers so that all of them have some problem in Google Cloud and pass the certification exam that you go through the question and attempt answer.
Thank you for coming to my session. I really hope I can teach you something new in the next 45 minutes. The title of the session is a bit large. I don't actually like it anymore. I kind of want to change it. And it's a Security Practitioner's Guide to Best Practice GCP Security. And I'm not going to be everything to everybody, so I'm probably going to disappoint everybody in this room. But hopefully I can teach you at least maybe one thing new that you can take away and implement today. I'm Google 18 months ago. Share with you why. We're not going to cover everything in the GCP platform. We're going to cover a core number of services, and they're mostly focused around infrastructure. And by that, we're going to be looking at permissions and log. There's three things in my agenda, roughly. We're going to talk about control. Control is around access control. It's around IAM. It's around roles and service accounts and granting people access to resources. What are the best practices and how do you do that securely? And how does an enterprise do that? We're going to look at visibility. How do you monitor what's happening? How do you validate that the controls and permissions that you put in place are actually giving you the controls you think they're giving you? And then we're going to talk about how we wrap up some services into solutions and solve some common problems that my customers have brought to me. So, controls. The first thing we have to talk about is IAM. Identity and access management is fundamental to everything that happens on Google Cloud Platform and in any cloud. And the thing that took a while for some of my customers to twig is that it's very centralized. If you look at GCP, everything is integrated with IAM. You can assign a role to a user, and suddenly they might have access to a ton of resources they didn't have before. Whereas in traditional on-premise environments, they found that actually it might be 4 or 5 or 6 different teams. The team that manages the firewall rules opening a port, the team that manages the service controls to allow you in, the team that then grants you permissions to the right Active Directory access to it, the whole bunch of people. And actually, it's a bit higher risk having everything controlled through IAM because you can more easily give people the wrong access. So you really need to put a lot more focus into doing it right and making sure that you're locking it down a lot more than you would necessarily on-premise. So what we're going to look at is who can access what resources, which sounds pretty simple, but there's lots of questions that come out of this, such as how do you figure out what resources they should be accessing, and actually who can access those resources? It's a pretty hard question to answer most of the time. The very first piece of advice I'll give you is all of your access should be based around groups. If a user is directly given permission to resources, then you have a significant burden in monitoring and management and trying to understand who can access what. I would actually say you should be actively scanning for and looking for any usage of identity controls that rely on the individual accessing any resource. Everything through a group allows you to put in proper JML processes and correct monitoring, and it's much easier to manage as well. And I see this mistake being made at the start of implementations when people are starting. Google Cloud, they go, oh, we'll have this one person accessing this resource, and these couple of people can have this project over here. It's best to start strong and stick with it consistently as you scale and grow your use of the platform. When you're 6 or 12 months down the road, it can be hard to back out. So just a really simple example of a group that some of my customers might use would be global SecOps admins. There's then 2 roles below it. They're security admins and they're log viewers. You can basically figure out what they do based on the name of the group, so it's self-describing. So if you are reviewing an alert or a log that contains the group name, you can kind of figure out what access they have based on that group name. And secondly, understanding folder structures and how they fit into the resource hierarchy is pretty important. So just to go over this again, for people that aren't aware, at the very top, you have your organization. There's one organization, and that's your company. Below it, you have below it you have folders, many folders and hierarchies. Below that, you have projects, and then those projects have resources inside of them. The best way to map it up, in my opinion, and I found with most of my customers, is to map your folder hierarchy to your company layout and structure. And by that, I mean separating it into different countries, different working groups, different teams, and doing the logical separation, and using folders as many times as you need to have that clean separation. Because when you apply constraints and policies at an organization level and they trickle down, you can then apply it to a folder further down the chain that will trickle down as well. Another resultant thing that I found is that the folder hierarchy isn't always apparent. So for example, if you're looking at an access control list, if you're looking at a log, it'll come with a project name, but it's not always obvious to many people where does that project sit in the folder hierarchy. So simply, just expand out into the project name. Structure it as organization name. I recommend you always prefix with your organization name at the start, and then expand out the folder tree in the project name. Make use of long project names, it's absolutely fine. Simple example, Acme Corp have a sales organization. There's an application running inside of it that provides insight around what their clients are doing, and this is the production version of that application. It's self-describing, it's easy to understand, and it's easy to debug where it sits in the folder tree without having to go to someone that can actually see it and give you that information. You're trying to lower the burden and the admin overhead. So service accounts are something I didn't really know that much about, and I assumed I kind of knew how they worked until I started writing this presentation, and I had it completely wrong. And the real key advice that I had from one of the security PMs was you need to think of security accounts, service accounts, as both a resource and an identity. There's 2 perspectives, and you need to be really aware of that. So when we think about a resource has controls as to who can access that resource. So in this case, let's say you created a service account. You want to limit who can use that service account. So So this simple diagram shows you there's a user called Alice, and she'd like to start a virtual machine. She'd like to start that using a particular service account that's being generated. So she needs a role that allows a service account user to use that service account. So she has a constraint on being able to access it. Normally that list of people, the service account users, should be pretty small and pretty focused, and you should be reviewing who has that access. Because as soon as you actually start using the service account, and you start with that instance using the service account, it flips over and it becomes an identity. Then the identity has access to resources on the other side. So that's then having permissions and roles as to can it access a Google Cloud Storage bucket, can it access a spanner database, can it create some credentials elsewhere. So what this means is that a user who has service account user permissions can then actually access all the resources that service account can access as well. Not necessarily directly, but actually through that service account it can access everything else, and that can really greatly increase the scope of access that an individual user has through that one role. So simple tips, things that have caught me out before and caught out my customers. Have a naming convention. And one of the things I say for a naming convention is actually saying it's a service account in the name. So if you look at a log or a report or an article, it just looks like an email address. Is it a person or is it a service account? Just put in front SVC or SA or service to obviously delineate this is a service account. The display name is a longer name. A number of my customers have found putting the particular roles given to that service account in the display name also makes it easier to figure out what it does and what it should access, and actually how much permissions it has to access other resources. Being verbose and repeating yourself isn't really a problem. So then the question becomes, how many service accounts do we need? And the answer is, it depends, which is the worst answer you can give to anyone. So generally as a rule of thumb, what I'm looking at is how many roles are given to a particular service account. We generally say that each of your applications or services should have a service account. If you're then giving it many roles, 5, 10, 15, or 20, that's probably a hint you should be refactoring the application if you can control it, or trying to decompose it into multiple items. So what you have to think about here is if someone picked up that service account and they took it away and they used it later on, it can be hard to monitor how a service account is being used and if there's multiple service accounts being used in multiple places. And if that one account can access 10 different resources, then that's a concentration risk that you should be looking at a lot more closely. And don't rely on the default service accounts. So whenever you create a new project and you spin up a compute engine API, it'll create you a default service account that's really useful for testing and development. We do not guarantee the functionality of that service account, the roles and scopes it might have. We also don't guarantee it might exist in the future, whether we create that default service account or not. If anything today relies on the default service account, you should immediately stop using it and transition to custom service accounts that you can control, because there may be a breaking change. So something I actually learned on Monday this week, and I did this slide on Tuesday, was trying to answer the question of who can access what. So which user can access this particular resource? Or who could delete this virtual machine? Is a really hard question to answer. And there's a great piece of software called Forseti. Forseti is open source software, originally developed by Google Cloud, that we use to monitor our policies. And we need to answer those questions ourselves. It's pretty simple in how it works. We do an inventory. We take a list of all the users, we take a list of all the groups, we take a list of all the roles, we take a list of all the resources. We build a model on top of it, and then you can query that model. And you can directly ask it, who could delete this virtual machine? For this user, what can they access? Who has service account user permissions? It's a really quick way to answer those questions. It's freely available, open source software online. I'd highly recommend you review it. So that was control, and that was really centered around identity and access management. And as you'll see as we go through this, everything builds on top of it when you're looking at cloud security. So for visibility, we're going to talk a lot around logging, trying to understand which users are actually using those permissions and who is doing what in the operational perspective. The main debug where it sits in the folder tree without having to go to someone that can actually see it, absolutely fine. Simple example, Acme isn't always apparent. So for example, if you're looking at an access control list, if you're looking at a log, it'll come with a project name. But it's not always obvious to many people, where does that project sit in the folder hierarchy? So simply, just expand out into the project name. Structure it as organization name. I recommend you always prefix with your organization name at the start, and then expand out the folder tree in the project name. Make use of long project names, it's absolutely fine. Simple example, Acme Corp have a sales organization. There's an application running inside of it that provides insight around what their clients are doing, and this is the production version of that application, trying to lower the burden and the admin overhead. So service accounts is something I didn't really go to someone that can actually see it and give that production version of that application. It's self-describing, it's easy to understand, and it's easy to debug where it sits in the folder tree without having to go to someone that can actually see it and give that information. You're trying to lower the burden and the admin overhead. So service accounts is something I didn't really know that much about, and I assumed I kind of knew how they worked until I started writing this presentation, and I had it completely wrong. And the real key advice that I had from one of the security PMs was you need to think of security accounts, service accounts, as both a resource and an identity. There's two perspectives, and you need to be really aware of that. So when we think about a resource has controls as to who can access that resource. So in this case, let's say you created a service account. You want to limit who can use that service account. So this simple diagram shows you there's a user called Alice, and she'd like to start a virtual machine. She'd like to start that using a particular, and the answer is it depends, which is the worst answer you can give to anyone. 10 different resources. Pretty simple in how it works. We do an inventory. So for visibility, we're going to talk a lot around logging, trying to understand which users are actually using those permissions and who is doing, and you can't turn them off. So whenever you make a change through the admin console,